So for this first lesson, let's see the sales principles. What is a good sale? A good sale is not overselling or underselling. You know, the salesperson who try to push the product all the time, that is not good. Or the salesperson who is afraid of proposing something, that's not good too. A good sale and a good customer service should be the same thing. Why? Because you are the specialist here to propose the right product to the person, and you are the only specialist that can decide which is the good service or the good product. In fact, you should be the doctor of your customer. That means that you will have to discuss with him, to understand his dreams, his needs, and then to come with a proposal. It's important to have a long-term customer, a long-term client, depending on where you are working, because the one that pays is the long-term one. If you want to just try to shoot and sell, that's not going to be good, because you are going to make one sale, but after you are not going to make money anymore, while the wise salesperson is going to work for the long term. So now, what are salespeople qualities? The first coming here, listening. Why? Because you have to listen 75% of the time. Curiosity, because you can only sell to a human what this human is looking for. So you have to be curious about this person. Empathy. Empathy is understanding the feelings of the person in front of you. Most of the salespeople, most of the reps are just trying to push a product that they know very well. Good salesperson is the contrary. You have to understand the person in front of you. You have to understand what he's feeling, and then to propose the right product and the right service. You also have to believe in your product, because if you don't believe in your product, that's going to be very, very difficult. Or change company because you are not going to make it. And this enthusiasm, that's a common point for all reps. You know, they are enthusiastic about their product and service. You want to try to help your customer. You have to have this will to help this customer. Why? Because if you have that, you are going to be much more convinced yourself, and you are going to be much more convincing. You also have to know your priorities, because if you work only on the small clients, you are going to lose a lot of time with clients that can't pay you. So you have to focus on the right clients. And for that, you have to be very well organized. Now, the other qualities, you have to be proactive. You know, if you just sit in a corner, you cross your arms and you wait for the customer to come or the client to call, that's going to take a long time and you won't sell. You know that 90% of the clients disappear after 4 years if there is no solicitation, because they die, they leave the place sometime, they go bankrupt, they leave to the competitor. So if you do nothing after 4 or 5 years, you won't have any more clients. So the average time management for a good rep should be about 70% of your time with the actual clients and customer. Why? Because they are the ones that give you money now. But you should also invest in the future. That means that you should invest 30% of your time in solicitation, cold calling, and all the ways that can bring you new customers, unless the companies and the marketing does it for you. You also have the difference between what we call the farmers, you know, I'm sure you know that. Then it's a bit different, because the farmers are there just to, you know, to work with the present customers, and that's about 100% of their time with the clients. And the hunters, 100% of their time for solicitation to try to find new clients. So it depends what kind of salesperson you are in the company. But otherwise, average 70-30. 70 for the customers now and 30 for the future. Salesperson worst enemies now. Fear and assuming, and it's working together. You know, fear to get to know, fear to try to close, fear to call. And why do you have this fear? Because you assume that the person is going to tell you no. So it works together, fear and assuming. And we say in English, assuming is making an ass of you and me. Assuming is making an ass of you and me. Think it twice, because most of the people, most of the reps assume too much. not knowing the product or the service. However, in all companies I've been, most of the time they are very well trained for the product or the service they sell. Most of the time. The problem is that they know the product or the service, but they don't know how to sell. Another problem is to speak too much. I'm sure you know these reps who speak all the time in your ear, and they don't stop speaking. And you just want to leave the shop, you want to leave the place you are in just because you want to think in silence. So sometimes you have to let your customer or your client think. And you have to listen to him mainly. And pushing too much a customer, the customer thinks, I'm happy that he's leaving and I don't want to see him again anymore. So that are other enemies that you should try to avoid if you want to keep long-term customers. Customer motivation, and that is key. There are different systems, I'm going to try to explain you that, but it works all the time. And the good thing is that it works for any product or any services in this world. You have millions or billions of services and products in this world. However, there are only 6 motivations or even 3 to make it easier. So I'll try to understand, to explain you that. The first is SENCMS. S for safety. Example, the customer wants a safe car. Ego, which is very important. I want to feel important. Novelty. These clients who always want to have the last cellular phone, the last computer, the last hi-fi, whatever, or the last car. They always want to have the last thing. So you will have to identify which the psychological motivation of the customer so that you can sell him exactly what he wants. Comfort. Somebody wants to have a car, but it has to be comfortable. Money. He wants to save money. Or sympathy. He wants to like the car or to like you. So that makes 6 motivations. If you want to use that system, perfect. However, 6 is sometimes a bit too much to think about it during the sale because you have so many things to think. So there is another system which is ESC, to make it very simple. E for ego, because ego is always important. S for safety, because safety is always important. And C for convenience and pleasure. And if you want to reduce it to 3 motivation, you can. So when you're in front of a customer, a new customer, first thing you try to do is to try to identify what he is looking for. How can you do it? Just by listening the word he uses. And if you don't know, you are going to ask him one question which is key. What's important for you? And then, for example, for a camera, he's going to tell you, I want to have the best camera. Or I want to have a camera that has to be very safe because I broke a few before. Or I'm not very good, I'm not easy at using that. I want to have something very convenient to use. So that is going to allow you to choose the right product, but also to push on the right advantages, the right arguments. So this is key, and try to use it every day with the people your friends, your wife, your husband, your kids, whatever, but everybody has this 3 motivation, but there is always one that is more important than the other ones. Now, what time should we use, what should we say? The conditional? No, perhaps you could take that. No, that's not good, the person is going to say, I'm going to think about it. The past, no, that's negative too. The future, yes and no. So the best tense is now, the present, that's the best. You should speak about the future for the dreams he may have and for the present for what is going now, which is to sign. Sales equation now, and that is very, very important. Basically, you have 3 numbers that are going to make your sale. That's the number of contacts multiplied by the closing ratio multiplied by the average sale, and that is going to make the total of your sale. So I'm going to repeat because it's key. The number of contacts, the more contacts you will have, the best it will be for you. Closing ratio. You know what's closing ratio is the time, the percentage of time you are going to close a sale. For example, on 10 meetings, you are going to close 5 times or 7 times. So the higher it will be, the best it will be. Average sale, will depend on the kind of customer you are going to choose. So, number of contact is going to be tied to the organization you have and the number of cold calls you are going to make. If it's not the case, it's going to depend on how many leads the company brings you through the marketing or something else. But you want to be, you don't want to rely on the company, so the best is for you to be able to take the phone and give calls and make calls. Closing rate. That's about sales techniques. That's what we are going to see today. Ideally, you should be able to close, I would say, that depends on the sales mix, but 80% of the time. That would be very good. And the average sale is the client, depending on the client selection. That means that if you see small clients all the time, you are going to work a lot, but you are going to make small sales. You are going to have a lot of objections, and you won't make a lot of money at the end of the year, and same for your company. So, what we are going to see during the next lessons are how we can improve each of these figures. Okay? And we finish the lesson here with the sales steps. The first step of a rep is the work organization. To be able to work efficiently, not lose your time doing nothing. Then, which is key, we saw that you should spend 30% of your time doing it and 100% for the hunters. How can we make some cold calls and solicitations? Then you have the preparation of the sale, making contact, fact-finding or uncovering needs. The word depends is the same thing. Summarizing the solutions and the sales pitch. How to handle the objections. Closing to finish and to finish your sale. And then the follow-up. And here we finish the first lesson. So now we're going to see for each step will have a lesson to see how you can improve each of these steps. So see you to the next lesson.